My name is Natalie Gross, and I am the Director of Diversity and Campus Engagement. The office that I run provides all of the diversity programs and student diversity trainings on campus. I identify as Black. I am a woman. I am Christian, more so spiritual than highly religious, I'll say that. I am heterosexual. I am able bodied. I am middle age. I am a U.S. citizen and middle class. My middle class identity feels less solid and less defined than the others, but that's what I'll say for right now. I came into this study feeling really excited that someone was paying attention to what happens to the body emotionally, physically, when a person does social justice work all the time. I was excited that I wasn't alone in my feelings and my experience, that this feeling of being perpetually tired and emotionally exhausted and yet ever ready to work and work hard had begun to be overwhelming for me in the past year or two. Participating in this study had given me some hope, just to know that I wasn't really alone and that this was real and it wasn't just me, right? What I've learned the most about myself through participating in the study is how I put the work and I put others first, because taking time for my own personal reflection would get pushed back or put off regularly, and that definitely happened with even participating in this study, where our regular check-ins, I would have them scheduled every day on my calendar, and something else would come up or someone else would come in and that would be my priority. I also learned that I am in the habit of preaching, and I'm putting air quotes up that you can't see, self-care. Yeah, I don't fully practice it for myself. I recognize the importance of it and the need for it, but I don't really do it for myself. And I'm not talking about that kind of me time self-care, but that personal development self-care that also came up for me a lot in this study, when the question asked, what do you do for personal development? And I wasn't always sure how to answer that question. I think of self-care also in taking time to just listen to some music, which is very important to me. It's very energizing, and it's also something that I can do and do my work at the same time, right? Or listen to a podcast or read for the sake of reading, and thinking about how that also renews me as an individual and as a professional, right? And finding more ways to incorporate that. One thing I did notice that I would do regularly, and probably one of the few habits that I have, is to take time to read the Bible, or through the Bible app every day, or read some of the plans and really kind of dig deeper into my own spiritual foundation, building that up as well as my own understanding. And doing that every day was helpful. It was grounding and affirming, and it's the best way that I can start my day personally. Reading the Bible for me is my coping mechanism for life. However, I needed to do these other types of things, incorporating coping mechanisms, especially on those days where students would come in to process their pain and I was kind of left holding it with them. I know that they wouldn't leave it in my office or in the chair that they sat in, but I was also carrying that pain. And I needed to definitely incorporate that time to just breathe. What I noticed during this time was that I kept talking about how we pour into one another through this work. For example, you can't pour into somebody else's cup if your own cup is empty, and right? And I would say that a lot to our students about what they're doing and how we also need to take care of ourselves. And I wasn't doing that. I was consistently pouring out advice and guidance and making space to process and doing regular supervision, which also not only includes the business of timelines and getting things done and checking in, but the personal comes into play in some way, shape, or form. I was finding time to pour out hugs, affirmations, but I also realized that I don't stop in my day to pour love, kindness, healing, joy, affirmation, peace, silence, which is very important to me, back into myself. The result of that is a lack of energy that has really affected me recently, and that lack of energy is manifested in not really wanting to cook or to maintain my home in a way that I want it to be maintained, and to be the playful parent to my young son. And don't get me wrong, my son gets my time, it gets my attention. We get reading time in every day. We get dinner every day. Know that dinner is delivered a lot, way more than I can and should afford. But I always feel that I could be a more present parent, a more present person, and do more fun things with him, which could be the thing that a lot of parents feel, but I also don't know if I would feel that if I was able to pour into myself, to put that time, energy, kindness, and love back into me on the regular and not feel like it's something that I have to do, but like I'm able to do. And I can say that being that resource for students is highly rewarding, right? It's why I'm here. It's like what I wanted to do and why I came into this work. But I know that being the resource, not only is it highly rewarding, it comes at a price sometimes. My assistant director, we just hired her over the summer. So for a long time, it was just me. And so having her here has been nothing short of a blessing to have somebody to process with and to balance this work out with. One of the lessons that stuck with me since participating in this study or through participating in this study, and that I also encourage others to consider, is to incorporate and stick with a self-care plan. I know that this work can bring a lot of joy, as I said before, and but I know that the underside of our work that many people may not know much about, we are also exhibiting and exerting emotional labor that comes with the nature of what we do. And that where students seek our offices out and the centers that we offer, whether they be LGBTQIA, spiritual space, multicultural centers, like they seek these spaces out as places of emotional and physical refuge as well as wellness places, and that we as professionals have to maintain that practice of safety, protection, processing, and advocacy for these students all the time. And I really don't know what this daily self-care plan looks like for other people. As I said before, I really don't do that well, but I'm thinking now about not only how to do this for me, but how to incorporate this wellness into a staff plan. So not only for me to take 15 minutes out in the middle of the day to walk or to make sure I eat lunch or to sit and just connect with folks around me, but how do I incorporate that with my staff? Maybe just take a moment to laugh and to not feel guilty about that. And I think that's the key, to not feel guilty about that, to know that me feeling whole means I'll do a better job, as opposed to me taking the time to feel whole takes away from my work, because it doesn't.